Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Jays Today. It's been a couple weeks, but we're excited to be back and go through our winter sports.
Yeah, nice to have you back after you were down sick for a while.
Yeah, I've been sick, or I was sick for about the entire month of January, but feeling a little bit better now, and just not 100% yet, but I'll be there.
Now you just gave it to everyone else on the basketball teams.
Yeah.
So, very fun episode today. We'll have two guests, one wrestling coach, Deike, and then Aubrie Haynes, senior point guard for the girls basketball team.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have both of those people on. Deike, I've met him. He's super outspoken and an energetic guy, and Aubrie is a leader on the basketball team, so I'm excited to hear both of our guests.
Before we get to that, we can do a little bit of wrap up on girls wrestling as they head into their postseason.
Yeah, props to Lauren Watson for qualifying for state again. That's a big deal.
Yeah, regional champ, to send her back to state. And then Audrey Hedrick was just short of that mark, but still getting some Bonneret representation at that girls' state tournament.
Yeah, I was told that Lauren was sick today, so hopefully she gets over this sickness and is all ready to go.
Yeah, hopefully she gets back to it, with state being the end of this week. So
It's good to see some coverage this year from Blue Jay Digital on girls wrestling.
yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Had some ads going out and even got some hype videos.
Yeah, the hype video was sweet. Something exciting about this girls wrestling, for those of you that don't know, is we wrestle at Ankeny, and all of the girls from North Polk, Bondurant, Ankeny, and Ankeny Centennial compete for 14 varsity spots, and Bondurant holds 3 girls that have 3 of those varsity spots.
Yeah, maybe we'll have our own team popping up in the next couple of years.
Jays Today is sponsored in part by Jeff Meislin with Principal Financial Group. Jeff and his team help individuals, families, and businesses with retirement planning and strategy, investments, college funding, life, long-term disability, and long-term care insurance, and other financial products and strategies. Feel free to email or call for a complimentary consultation, or if you have any questions. That number is 515-246-4057. Once again, it's 515-246-4057.
Now welcoming to the show Cole Deike, a pastor and a wrestling coach, and he's here to fill us in on some wrestling.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited that you guys thought of me. So, I mean, obviously, I got to coach a little bit with you in the wrestling room. So I'm surprised you even thought of me, man. What'd you think of wrestling? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did enjoy it.
Yeah, what'd you enjoy most? I know you're a basketball player. You're tall. You're made for that sport. But what was your favorite part of wrestling?
Probably like feeling like I was in control, like it was just me, like one-on-one wrestling, like individual sport.
Yeah.
I liked that. Like if I lost, there was nobody to blame besides myself. Like that's what I liked.
It wasn't like, oh man, the fullback missed the block.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. It's just either I won or I lost it. So yeah, that's cool. I like
and when
that.
I won, it felt really, really good.
But when you lost it.
But when I lost, it sucked. Yeah.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm biased because I'm a wrestling coach, but I don't think there's any sport in the world that has higher highs and lower lows than wrestling. So that's what I hear you articulating.
That would check out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for giving it a shot, man.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
So on to some high school wrestling. Pairings came out. How do we feel about Linn-Mar?
Tough squad. Obviously, I've been watching a little bit of film on them lately. So there's a reason they're ranked, third, fourth in the state right now. So, I mean, obviously, they've got some superb wrestlers over there. So they're a great team. But I'll be honest with you, man, I feel really good about the way that we match up with them. And sometimes people forget that about the sport of wrestling is it has as much to do with the actual matchup of the teams as it does kind of the quality of the squads, right? So, like, here's a couple ways that it's different than like a football game. Like in a football game, if you have like a couple amazing players, they can rack up 28, 35, 42 points or whatever and win the football game. You can't do that with wrestling. I mean, if you've got a couple good wrestlers, each wrestler can only score upwards of like 6 points. So you can't just have a couple excellent athletes. You got to have a full squad, right? And we feel really good about the quality from little guy to big guy of the quality of our squad. So we think we match up really well. It's gonna be a fun night. Obviously, it's gonna be a hostile environment, though, right? Again,
Yeah.
there's a reason why Lynn Mar's ranked third in the state, dude. They've got a great squad. Their people are gonna show up. Their crowd's gonna fill out. They're gonna be chirping at us all night long. That's part of having the home field advantage, right? But I think we've got a mentally tough team, you know? So you see it everywhere, right? Like a football team or a baseball team goes in, or rugby, you go into a hostile environment, and one of two things can happen. Like one thing that can happen is like your team shrinks, right? Oh my gosh, nobody likes me here. Everybody's yelling mean stuff. It's really loud in the gym, right? And then they become a shadow of themselves and become smaller. But you see the other thing too, which is like when you've got a mentally tough athlete or a mentally tough team, they show up and all the chirping, all the noise, it's like fuel to them. They're like, I love it. Bring it. I was the type of athlete that I loved being in those environments because if there was anything that felt better than winning, it was quieting a really arrogant crowd. And so I think our guys can do that if we show up and wrestle really well. So, yeah, we'll get them ready. We'll put on a show. We'll do the best that we can, and we're hoping for a win. I think we can get it, but we'll be okay with the outcome regardless. So,
Yeah.
It seems you guys had a pretty successful conference meet, missing being the champs by just 1 point.
Oh, you had to bring it up.
But overall, like, how did it go?
Yeah, you know, that was tough and also something to be proud of, right? I mean, I think the final score was like 210 for Carlisle and 209 for, maybe it was like 211, 210 or something like that. So, it cuts both ways. Really proud of the guys for showing up and just doing a great job. Also, it's like, I like winning. You know what I mean? But that's also not why any great coach gets into the sport. So like, I'll let you into my life a little bit here. My dad was a coach. He was like a high school state champ. He was a couple-time All-American wrestler for Wartburg. So he kind of did it all. And so I grew up with baby wrestling shoes hanging from my crib. And so I just lived and breathed athletics, but, wrestling in particular. And so I always grew up thinking that I would be a state champ in high school or a multiple-time state champ in high school. And growing up in a small town, I felt like that was kind of my story. Like, oh, Deike's kid is going to be the next state champ or whatever. And so finally, it was looking that way to me. Middle school, I won an AAU state title, I was a couple-time All-American at Topeka, Tulsa, stuff like that. And then freshman year, literally the weekend before high school wrestling started, my freshman year, I was wrestling at nationals. I was in the semis or the quarters or something like that. I took a sloppy shot, and I got thrown and came down and snapped my leg. So sprained the ankle, broke the leg, and my career, it kind of flatlined from there. I went on to be a couple-time state place winner, which is great. It's just I thought I was going to be a state champ,
Yeah.
And so sophomore year, got beat at state, obviously placed. Junior year, choked in the semifinals. And then senior year, I think I went in like 42-0 or 40-1 or something like that. And I was like, oh, this is the year. And I choked again in the semifinals. And so I remember losing that heartbreaking match in the semifinals. Again, I took a bad shot and I pulled my hamstring and went straight to my back and ended up losing that match. And I remember being so disappointed by that. I came off the wrestling mat and I just remember thinking like, okay, my dad is going to be so disappointed in me. And that was totally my fault. Like my dad had never like Great dad, great coach. He'd never suggested that at all. That was my own stuff I put in my head. But I remember coming off the mat and being like, man, my dad is going to be so disappointed. And then after my final wrestling match the next day, I remember getting off the wrestling mat, running off the wrestling mat. I was in Wells Fargo, and I remember turning the corner, and boom, I saw my dad. We like locked eyes. And again, I was like, man, is he going to be disappointed that I didn't win a state title? I bet he is. And he ran over to me, and he hugged me, and he said, I'm so proud of you. And that was a profound moment in my life. I mean, I'm in my 30s now, and I swear I still think about that moment on like a weekly, monthly basis. And so as a coach, like one of the reasons why I'm drawn to coach is I want to give my athletes that moment. You know, that moment where even when or even if you don't achieve the goals that you wanted to achieve, like I'm still so proud of you. And honestly, that's the way I feel about our team this year. Would it have been great to win conference? Of course, it would have been great. Was it heartbreaking to lose by a point? Like, of course it was. Were there matches we should have won? Yeah, totally. But still, like I'm so proud of this squad. The seniors, all that they've achieved and all that they've worked for. Even our underclassmen and the way that they've worked. So it's a heartbreaker, but I'm proud of them. And I mean that. So, yeah.
Awesome.
But we had 10 guys qualify for state last year, right? And that
yeah.
would have been a program high.
Yeah.
Um,
Say it louder for the people in the back. I can't. I'm messing with you.
So, like, what are the goals for, like, individual qualifiers this year, at least?
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah. I think if we get one in, we'd be happy. No, I'm messing with you. 10 would be great. 10 would be great. I'd love to see the whole team make it. The likelihood of that is probably pretty small, but I think 10 would be great. I think 8 would be solid. I think 6 would be a mediocre or, you know, a bad day. So, yeah, I'd love that. But I mean, just to kind of piggyback off what I've already been saying, like, do we want to see every wrestler qualify for state? Of course we do. You know, wrestling, these guys they're cutting weight. They're going through nightmarishly difficult practices. There's days when they don't see the sun in the middle of winter. So it's like you feel like every guy deserves to qualify. But at the end of the day, man, like I'm also in my 30s now. And when you're in your 30s, you start to be able to see a little bit further than, you know, the medals and trophies and goals. I grew up obviously wrestling, and so I've just got a ton of medals and a ton of trophies and a ton of ribbons and stuff like that from wrestling my entire life. And it's like all those things that I worked so hard for, like, you know where they're at right now? They're in a box in my basement in a closet. It's like nobody cares about them. Like my wife doesn't think they're cool. You know, my friends don't. Like I've been blessed with a lot of friends, and none of my buddies are like, hey, Deike, can I just see your medals and trophies? Like, nobody has ever said that to me. They sit in the basement. My kids don't even, well, sometimes what will happen is my kids will get them out and they'll play with them. That's like the most use they get, you know? They like will award their friends and walk around with a golden medal. But even my 5-year-old daughter, Della, I mean, she was wearing one of it was like a state champ medal from like freestyle wrestling in like 5th grade, gold medal, right? It was my whole world for like a week when I was in middle school, right? And she's like wearing this thing around, and then I'm like, hey, Della, where'd the medal go? Are you done wearing it? And she's like, yeah, threw it away. So this medal I had worked so hard for, she just threw it away. And to me, that's like a metaphor of like in 5, 10, 20 years, like the medal, they're not going to care about it. But what they will care about is the person you become through that. And so is the goal all the kids to state? Sure, totally. But I think the bigger goal is you just want to see guys become the best versions of themselves. And I think that wrestling's a sport where people can really achieve that. I mean, the practices, the willpower that's required for the mental toughness that's required for it. I think there's a reason why sometimes you, as a wrestler, you recognize right away another wrestler when you meet them. It's not just because of the cauliflower ear, though sometimes that's a dead giveaway. But sometimes you're like, man, you're really intense. Did you wrestle? It's like, yeah. So I really do believe that the sport can help people become the best versions of themselves, which to me is the most important thing. So yeah.
Probably sit here for another hour, listen to that. Like,
Yeah, that was
it's
nice.
motivating. Yeah.
It'd be fun.
So how did you end up becoming a wrestling coach at Bondurant?
Yeah, so my wife and I moved to Des Moines in 2016, actually to plant a church in Des Moines. So my family we live in Des Moines, which we love, and Bondurant's it's a 20-minute drive here and then a 20-minute drive back, which on some days feels like a lot. So there is a reason why I picked Bondurant, and the reason is big fan of your superintendent here. So before I planted a church, I was actually a high school English teacher at Cedar Falls High School, and my principal, who I loved and looked up to, was Dr. Powers. And so when he got the job as superintendent at Bondurant, he was like, "Hey, Deike, why don't you come have lunch with me?" So we had lunch, and he was like, "Hey, you want to coach wrestling?" And I was like, "I don't want to drive 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back." He's like, "What if you just tried it for a year?" I was like, all right. Well, actually, the way he got it was like, "Hey, we've got a lot of really good, really small wrestlers, and you're a small guy." And I was like, "Okay, I'll come give it a shot." And so for me, man, the reason why I stuck for 6 or 7 or I don't know, I think I've been coaching at Bondurant for 7 years now, was you try it out for 1 year, and what happens, man? You fall in love with coaching those wrestlers. But I think the biggest reason why I keep coming back to Bondurant year after year is I just really appreciate the coaching staff. I think Coach Matt Wonderland is one of the best coaches out there, period. Like I said, I've been in the sport forever, so I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of coaches, and all the coaches I feel like the wrestling world has to offer. I'm telling you that the head coach, Matt Wonderland, is solid technician, one of the best technicians I've ever seen. He's more fluent about the sport maybe than any other coach, and he also does an awesome job building a culture at Bondurant. And so the reason why I keep coming back is I just want to coach with guys like that, guys who are passionate about coaching, guys who are passionate about the sport. And so I think we've had a ton of success as a team these last couple years, ton of success. And I think so much of it can be chalked up to the fact that he's just an excellent coach. And the other coaches too, Chris Corey, gosh, there's not an assistant coach in Iowa who's better than that guy, who's got more of a legacy than that guy. Even some of the other guys who have just been a couple years here and there. Coach Miller, awesome guys. And so I'm just really impressed with the coaching staff here, and it's just a fun team to be part of.
That was great.
That was a pretty solid interview. One of the best ones we've had.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm curious, rugby player, what's your perspective on wrestling?
I think I play rugby with a lot of like female wrestlers.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a great way to like learn how to be physical for the game.
Yeah.
And it makes them such a better player. Like the tackles, the technique, like I've seen some of my teammates just like double leg takedown to tackle, and I'm like, oh my God. And you just see the girl like on the ground like, oh my God, what just
happened to me? It's got flattened. Yeah, I mean, I'm 5'7", 130, right? There's no reason I should have been good at football in high school. I was, a couple team all district as the smallest guy on the field only because of wrestling. So that's one of the reasons why I'm like, I think that wrestling is one of many tools, but a really good tool to help people succeed in like other spheres of life. So yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Jasper, what'd you think of the practices? Were they
middle
pretty
school?
tough? Or I guess middle school, not quite as much conditioning and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're not, those middle school ones weren't as intense as the basketball ones are now.
Oh, interesting.
Ours are pretty intense. Yeah, we have intense practices with
good for you
not
guys.
so much running down the stretch, but the first week is a lot of like conditioning, toughness stuff. So yeah, but I had fun during those practices. They were hard.
Good.
I enjoyed them.
Good. Did we ever go, you and me, in a wrestling match?
Yeah,
You just put it on me
a couple
too, didn't
times.
you?
No, I don't know.
You probably hammered away at me.
Yeah, you and Mr. Kinker, I think.
Oh, man. What a
He was a
great
coach.
coach. I miss coaching with Kinker.
I remember wrestling against you too, because you said you were 135.
Yeah.
That's what I would have been in 7th and 8th grade. So
Yeah. Did you just, was that a jab at me?
no,
I can't,
no.
Jasper. No, I'm messing. I deserve it. No, that's good stuff, man. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I
Of
appreciate it.
course, yeah. Thank you for joining.
This podcast is also supported by Vision Bank. For more than 140 years, Vision Bank has maintained its commitment to helping build strong communities. They have been locally owned and locally focused since 1884.
Well, that was a pretty good interview with Deike. Now we have our second guest on, Aubrie Haynes, senior point guard for the basketball team, one of my longest teammates, playing with her for 9 years.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're just going to talk about some girls basketball.
Let's get right into it.
You're a year-round basketball player. Basketball is your only sport. You've been playing for different clubs and school. Kind of talk to us about, like, what's the difference between the two?
There's a great difference between the two. I think with AAU, I've played it for 4 years, ever since 8th grade. And there's a clear difference between the competition of girls you play with. First of all, the coaching for sure is way more advanced, and the overall pace of the game is just, it's a little more intense than high school basketball. And something like that in the off season definitely helps when it comes to in season in high school. So it's something I really enjoy doing.
Where do you play?
Kingdom Hoops. I played there for 3 years, and then 2 summers ago I played at Pure Prep.
Who are your coaches at Kingdom?
There was an alumni from Iowa State. Her name's Meredith Burkhall, and then a girl named Sarah Wenger was one of the assistant coaches.
How has, like, Bonner for our basketball impacted you?
The program, it means so much to me, like, especially being a senior. Really bittersweet leaving this being my last year, but it's definitely shaped me as a player on the court and off the court, as a person off the court. And as a freshman, I didn't really have much leadership skills, and I was kind of quiet. And then my teammate, Mia Miller, kind of brought me out of my shell. And then she was a senior when I was a freshman, and then I just kept going on each year, gaining more leadership and more love for the game, more skills. And as a senior now, I could say I'm a very good leader and a very good influence on my team.
I mean, yeah, the numbers don't lie. You've become quite the leader, not only like team leader, but also stats leader. Currently, you're the scoring leader on the team. You're the assist leader. And since break, you've had multiple games with leading the scores, with West Marshall hitting 20, Ballard hitting 17, Roosevelt hitting 15. Like, you're a leader on and off the court.
Yes, I appreciate that.
I didn't see it, but I heard about it. Walk me through what happened the fourth quarter of the Roosevelt game.
All right, so I had 0 points, quarters 1 through 3. None of my threes were falling, and I was kind of getting frustrated. No shots falling, kind of sloppy passes, just things like that in general. But fourth quarter, I think we were down starting maybe, or we kind of got back up in the third. But starting fourth quarter, I think I hit 4 major threes, went 4 for 4, didn't miss a single one, and then had a fast break layup. But kind of just the momentum and the crowd and just the hype behind it kind of just kept me going, and that was really fun to experience, especially against Roosevelt. That was a good game.
I mean, obviously, you're a leader on the team, but leaders have leaders, and I would say that would be our coaching staff. We kind of had that shift of coaching staff coming into the new year, or new season. How have you yourself adjusted and helped the team adjust?
Yeah, at first, I mean, I was really uncertain with a lot of change as a senior. Going into your senior year, new coaching staff, you're kind of unsure what the program has on hold for the rest of the year. And, like, at the start of the summer with Aubrie, we had that meeting back in June in the library, and we sat in a circle, and I kind of was just, like, watching her. The meeting went really well, but I still, like, left that meeting unsure what my senior year had in store for me. But as the summer went on and as the basketball season has went on, Aubrie has not, like, just only cared about us as players, but off the court, she's cared about us as people. And that was, like, one of my favorite things about her is that she really takes time to care about us, make sure that she's always, like, there, present, and shows up for things. Showed up to Danica's bunny competition, just, like, stuff like that. But But all the girls really appreciate her, and we just really appreciate how she shows up.
I mean, I think what Deike was saying earlier, like, it's not necessarily about the wins or the losses or the trophies and the medals. Like, you really grow into that person. And that's kind of where I see Aubrie is helping our team grow as people.
Yep, I completely agree with that. And yeah, it's just an honor to have her as our basketball coach this year, especially it being her last year. So, yeah.
All right, so what are your plans after high school?
After high school, I plan on attending Central and playing basketball there for 4 years, and then I think I'm gonna major in business administration or business management. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. But yeah, I committed there back in, I'm pretty sure it was like right before basketball season, and I wanted to make sure I committed before basketball season so I didn't have to focus on any college recruitment because the recruitment process is not fun, and I just wanted to get that out of the way before the season started. But I really fell in love with the coaching staff. That kind of got me my decision. Like, that was kind of my factor into the decision I made there. And they showed interest in me really early on in my process.
All right, what's the outlook for the rest of the season?
We have 4 more regular season games. We got senior night this Tuesday against Carroll. Last time we played Carroll, we fell short, but we're coming back this time, ready to play them again, more intense, and yeah, really looking forward to playing them. And then we play Gilbert later this week.
We'll play North Polk on
North
Friday.
Polk, okay.
And then we'll have Clear Creek Amana for a Saturday game, and then Gilbert will be our last Mega Night.
Yeah.
I believe each one of those teams are ranked.
I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah, so you guys talk about the schedule. I can talk about the boys for a little bit. We have to play Carroll on Tuesday, who we played really well up there at Carroll. Got a little crazy at the end. We were up big, and then they started to kind of come back, but that was in the past, and we won that game, and we're looking to win Tuesday. And then Friday against North Polk, we went there, our first game, played like crap. So we're looking to have a lot better of a game against them and finish out conference play with Gilbert strong. We had that awesome game with them at home earlier this year, which was probably the highlight of the season so far. And then go to those non-conference games and win some games and be looking really good going into postseason. And people have to be ready to see Bondurant boys back in the postseason for a 3rd year in a row.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming in and watching this episode. We appreciate you guys, all of our watchers.
And as always, it's a great day to be Blue Jay.
Roll Jays, baby.
I don't think I've ever heard Jasper use the word baby.
There's my energy. I gotta go.